Hey, welcome back to Mobility Project. We've been on a bender of compression, tack, and flossing lately, and we need to kind of consummate this idea, tie some concepts together. Now look, one of the problems is that these are sometimes hard to get. This band, we're getting these at jumpstretch.com, is about, I don't know, what is that, 1.5 inches wide, something like that. It's pretty long, and the problem is, if you don't have one of these, what do? Because you cut yourself off from a significant source of compression. So today we're going to do a couple things. First is I want to show you what I've done. I stopped by my local bike shop and I grabbed some old bike inner tubes, and I've experimented with this a lot and sent this out with a bunch of our tactical athletes. This works great. What I've done is I cut out the stem, split the inner tube in half, so I actually end up with 2 compression bands here. And then, so cut it in half and then split it down, and then you end up with a pretty good length strip. It's a little bit shorter than we'd like, but it's still pretty long enough. It's utilitarian. It's made from 100% rubber, non-latex reaction. Now take a look. If you want to use that, that's great. What I'm going to do tonight is go ahead and use the real deal, the real McCoy, and we're going to make these more available recently. But what I'm going to show you now is we've tacked the hamstring, or excuse me, the calf, the quad. I'm going to show you a couple fixes. Now, we've used the ball, we call that the floss bomb. This is called the super flossing. I think we're just going to have to call it that. And what's going to happen is that a lot of times the tissues of this proximal hip, of the high hip, are really hard to mobilize. It's hard to get a ball in there, up in your grundle, up kind of in the adductor mass. Now all this adductors come in. These are kind of your medial hamstrings. Pectineus, psoas comes on here too, and it's hard to get this. A lot of the experiences that happen, especially in athletes that are cycling, they report some kind of high hamstring feeling, and we don't know if it's psoas, we don't know if it's high mass, if it's kind of high hamstring. It really doesn't matter. Well, there are areas that it's hard to get to. This is really kind of circling up those ideas. So here's the first piece tonight. You're just going to wrap that up, eye up in the groin, kind of take it around, and then I'm just going to keep applying the stretch over the tissues I want to change. And that inner tube tire works great. Don't be afraid about doing that. In fact, stop by and get a bunch of inner tubes. Show people how to fix themselves. That inner tube is the utility. It's the lacrosse ball of mobility. And then I'm just going to come back around here, make a few wraps. Don't worry, I'm not tourniqueting myself. And then what's going to happen here is that I can do all of my normal flossing things. I can even actually deadlift and warm up. One of the things that we're finding is that our athletes who are having tacked down tissues are doing their normal warm-ups, and then during the course of the normal warm-up, expressing the movement in its kind of best form, we're seeing big changes. Now let's see if we can tie a couple ideas together. So I've got the band high up in the hamstring, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my normal flossing routine, which puts the hip into an ideal position. Boom! So I've got the hamstring tacked, and I'm just going to floss back and forth with the band pulling and approximating the hip into the good position. This 2-for-1 is insane, and I really get that tissue pulling past that kind of restricted compression band. Unbelievable changes. You need to experience this for yourself. If someone has that proximal hamstring burn, that high hamstring thing, this should be your go-to to fix that. Second piece, hard to get some of those internal bits. Put that hip in extension, and now, you can open that up. We can do all the flossing that we're doing here, opening that hip. And this is a really excellent way to kind of hit some of that psoas, pectineus, stuff that comes on tension that we typically don't think of it as tension until the hip comes in extension. So here, oh man, I've just tacked that, opening up that high hip. It is brutal, brutal, brutal. Working on keeping the leg straight and trying to rotate and press through. Pretty amazing. Make your own band. Quit messing around. 2, always combine techniques. Flossing with compression flossing equals super flossing. We'll see you guys tomorrow.